What about XRP and Bitcoin and this whole idea of a Trump reserve, a crypto reserve? What do you think of that? Yaël Ossowski is a senior fellow at the Bitcoin Policy Institute, deputy director for the Consumer Choice Center. He's here to help me understand this a little better. Yaël, nice to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, so Donald Trump has announced this crypto reserve idea. XRP, SOL, Bitcoin, Ethereum, AD. I don't know what all of these are exactly, but help me here. What does this mean? Is he just keeping a campaign promise and throwing, hey, I kept my promise, we're going to look into this? Is it serious? Is it just marginal? Or is this really important?
I mean, I think directionally it's very important. It shows that Trump has an interest in cryptocurrencies and basically looking at the American advantage in all of this. So it does go back to this kind of promise that he made at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville in July. He said, hey, look, Bitcoiners, if you come on my side, we're going to get a strategic reserve. The U.S. government already has 200,000 Bitcoins in its possession. We're going to keep that and keep it as a strategic reserve. So Bitcoin has always kind of been the focus here, because obviously you have the proof of work algorithm, you have all these miners, you have ETFs. There's a lot of interest from companies as well. El Salvador uses it right now as legal tender. I think it's kind of a surprise for many people who are watching this that the other cryptos were kind of thrown in. No doubt this has something to do with people who've supported the president, people who have been supporting him with money, with campaigns, and obviously the influence of David Sachs, who's the crypto and AI czar. So I think it's definitely interesting. It does speak to something, and it does mean that Trump team is thinking about financial innovation and having some kind of strategic advantage for the United States.
Yeah, so what is the advantage, do you think? All right, so for a lot of folks, certainly those that are older, they don't get it. You can't touch it. You can't see it. You can't, take a gold coin, bite on it, whatever it might be, right? How do you explain this to folks that are just reluctant? Like, I don't get it. I don't want to be part of it. It scares me. Or do we just drag them kicking and screaming into the future?
Well, I think there's just something that everyone has to understand is, our current financial and monetary system is based on the U.S. dollar, which used to be based on gold. Now it's just based on what the Federal Reserve says it is. It's based on interest rates. It's basically the price of money. And what Bitcoin was created as is this alternative system that has a hard cap. The US dollar has been printed into infinitum for a very long time. Bitcoin will only ever have 21 million units, what we call Bitcoins. And the way that you create these is by using computing power to basically hash these algorithms, and that's how you deliver the rest of the coins. So why is that important? What does that mean? It's actually something that is immensely decentralized. There's no CEO. There's no one who controls it. There's no foundation behind it. It's just a hard money, much like we used to have with gold, but the difference is that you can send it anywhere over the planet for pennies. So I think that is the main difference that we have with this new iteration of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin was the first one. It's the one that's the most adopted. And now we're seeing that Wall Street has already kind of taken the orange pill. They already have plenty of ETFs and bonds. Many of the investment houses are now saying that many people should be investing in Bitcoin. I think overall, it's just this is a new way to have hard money in the 21st century. And if we look at debt and deficits and just all the troubles that we've had with fiat money, I think it's a very good alternative.
So Bitcoin jumped about 10%. I don't even know where Bitcoin is today. Where is it today?
We're looking at 92,000 around there.
All right. So it got up to almost 110, right? At one point.
It did, yeah. We got about 100, 110.
And what Yaël is not offering financial advice. I'm just asking his opinion on the following question. Do you think it'll go back?
I think if you just look at demand, there's a lot of people who are buying this. Again, BlackRock, which, for a long time everyone is focused on for ESG stuff, they have their own Bitcoin ETF. They've been funneling billions of dollars into this. We know that the nation of El Salvador has a bunch of Bitcoin. And I think that's what the strategic reserve is kind of about, is also putting the posture of the U.S. versus countries like China and Brazil. They're talking about delinking from the U.S. dollar, from going to a gold-backed currency. If we introduce Bitcoin into it, it's a big difference. So I do think overall there's going to be more adoption. Can't tell you anything about price. I know nothing about that, but I know the technology and I use it.
So what about, Bitcoin is the best known, but others are coming into the space, Ethereum, XRP has gotten a lot of traction because of some legal fights that they apparently have won along the way, right? So XRP, some folks I talk to say it's the most versatile of the crypto. Yes or no?
It's definitely in the marketing. I don't know if it would be if you would say it's the most versatile. I mean, I obviously am rooting for a specific team here, but I think for
Okay, so
most of
who's
the
your
other
team?
yeah. Well, my team is obviously Bitcoin, which I think is
Right.
more important. All these other tokens we have to think about, are owned by companies. There are people, there are faces, there are marketing departments. Bitcoin is the only one that is really effectively decentralized. And that's something that the SEC and the CFTC, this is what they've been discussing is, are these cryptocurrencies decentralized enough to actually be considered alternative cryptocurrencies, or are they just basically tokens that are stocks owned by a certain company? And I think this is where perhaps Trump, came out with the executive order, and he's going to talk about all the other cryptos because they might be made in America, but they're just fundamentally different from something like Bitcoin, which has to be mined. You have to put computing power, you have to put actual capital into making it, whereas many of these others are just kind of hit print on the computer and put it out. So you just don't have that mechanism of control and competition in some of these other chains. Overall, though, it should be legal. People should be able to buy these if they're interested and they like it, and tons of people are. If we just look at comparatively, what are countries looking at? What are companies looking at? What do retirement advisors, what are they thinking about? Are they thinking about Bitcoin, or are they thinking about some of these other cryptocurrencies? Only one is effectively decentralized. I think that's an important metric. And then also something that can never be controlled or gamed. And we can't say that about some of these others. So I think directionally, great move from the president to look at this. I think we're going to hear more this week. There's going to be a summit at the White House to discuss crypto policy going forward. I'd love to see the ability to also use it to buy and sell, to not have to pay huge capital gains tax, and to
Or any
have
capital
a de minimis
gains.
exemption.
Didn't he say no capital gains on crypto? Isn't that one of the things that we talked about on the campaign trail?
It is something that he discussed, and we'd love to see it, because right now, if you're in America and you bought a little bit and you file your taxes, you got to pay capital gains tax on that. But many people use it as they can for buying and selling normal things.
Right.
If you go on Facebook Marketplace, you can use cash, or you can use things like Bitcoin.
I greatly appreciate the education. Again, it's not my area of expertise, and it is yours, and I appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to have you back as we continue to map out where this all goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Steve. All the best.
Yeah, Yaël, Ossowski. I'm no expert. I dabble. Maybe that's dangerous. I don't know.